Great to be here today and have the opportunity to tell you more about sessions. So we don't have much time, so I'll jump straight in. So Sessions is the platform for standout customer-facing webinars, workshops, and demos. Okay, that sounds great. But another way that I like to explain it to my family and friends is that Sessions is kind of like Zoom, but on steroids. So you get everything that you would expect from a top video conferencing platform. So for example, if you run events, you can have custom landing and registration pages. You can send out invites and reminders. The platform is 100% cloud-based, so participants can join with one click. They don't need to go and download apps and things. We have HD video and crystal clear audio and everything that comes with that. So custom backgrounds and noise reduction. You can take private notes and sync it with your Evernote and Notion and email. You can share your screen, put up your hand, share reactions and chat. And of course, we have the AI element that gives things like real-time transcriptions and summaries, translations, and it can even extract action points for you. Of course, there's cloud recordings and analytics and so much more. Right, so how is Sessions different? Well, to explain this, I need to go back in time a bit. So a few years ago, Rodu, the founder of Sessions, realized that if you create events that are a little more complex or meetings that are a bit more complex, then you have to use this whole ecosystem of tools. For example, you need a certain tool for scheduling. You need another platform to prepare. You need another platform to host the actual meeting. You collaborate with your team members in another place and you do the follow-up somewhere else. And for recaps, you have to download the recording and send it or upload it to YouTube. So it becomes a lot. It becomes chaotic. There's a lot to keep track of. There's a lot to subscribe to. And it also becomes expensive because all these different platforms are involved. So we took all of this and created this one single platform with the entire workflow that's built for collaboration and interactivity. So that is really what's at the heart of Sessions. And because Sessions is a B2B product, you don't work in a bubble. You work with your team members. So that is why you can set up workspaces for your organization inside Sessions, and you can define roles for them. And this allows you to work as a team whilst you're creating all these complex meetings. So you can work together whilst creating, and once you have created something, you can share it with your entire workspace. So the thinking behind this is that it ensures higher productivity and also consistent quality. All right, so one way of doing this is through interactive agendas. Okay, so what is an interactive agenda? So if you look on the left-hand side of your screen, you should see the agenda that I'm using right now. It's kind of like a blueprint or an outline for your meeting, and it helps to keep you on track and on time. That's the one side of it. On the other hand, it's almost like having a little virtual meeting assistant because it loads everything at the moment when you need it. So for example, when I needed this slideshow to come up, the agenda loaded it for me and embedded it into the session. I did not have to go and share my screen. And something that's really cool is that once I have created an agenda, I can use it forever. So it's super quick and easy to attach it to any session. And also I can share it with everyone else in my team so that they don't have to go and reinvent the wheel if they have a similar meeting. So a good example of this is we host a lot of demos and sessions. So we have our set demo agenda. And whenever a team member needs to hop into a demo, everything is ready. You just have to show up. So there's a lot of value in that, and it saves us a lot of time. But now you might say to me, okay, that's great, but we don't have time to sit and come up with all these cool agendas. So that is why we came up with the AI Copilot. So with the Sessions AI Copilot, you can create agendas and polls literally within seconds. All you need to do is write a prompt, sit back, and the AI will do the rest. But but I would really like to show you how this works. So I'm just going to share my screen. So this is my sessions homepage, and I'm going to go to agendas, new agenda, AI Copilot, and let's say Italian cooking class, generate. Yeah, so it takes a few seconds, but as you can see, it's already building my agenda for me. And quite a long agenda too. All right, so here's the proposed agenda. If I don't like it, I can click on try again, and it will come up with a completely new agenda for the same topic. If I like it exactly the way it is, I can just click on use agenda, or I can say, okay, I want this section, this section, this section, this. I don't want this, but I want this. And then I can import. All right, so here's my agenda, and I can give it a name. Let's see. And I can edit pretty much anything. I can delete this one, for example, make this one shorter, and I can add resources to it. So, for example, a YouTube link, and let's add a file. All right. And then if I preview this agenda, it looks like this. So this would just be me on screen speaking. And here's my video. And if I play it, it'll play for everyone in the meeting. Here's my image or my slideshow. And yeah, so you get the idea. And I can do something similar for polls. So unfortunately, I can't share my screen to show you this, but I'm just going to click on polls in the bottom right-hand corner, and set one up quickly. AI Copilot, favorite Italian food, question mark, generate. This takes a few seconds to create this for me. All right.
And while you're doing this, Carla, that was one of the questions I got up front. Can sessions actually combine live components within the meeting and canned video components? I think what you've shown here is this works super nicely, that you can say, you know what, because you have a standard part of a, let's say, a product demo, that you can always pull in the 7 minutes of the product demo into an agenda, and you do your interactive part before, the interactive part afterwards. You can combine this super nicely.
Exactly. It's very easy to hop between different modes. And also, what's really cool is that participants can interact with what's on screen. So now you see the poll on screen, and you can actually click on it right there and then and vote, cast your vote. And that also works for things like whiteboards, for example, or Google Docs. Everyone can work together. So it really is like next level collaboration. Right. So, but today we're focusing on events and sessions. And of course, before we jump into that, I just want to mention that sessions is super versatile. So you can use it for one-on-one meetings. You can use it to have a video call with your grandmother if you wanted to. You can have a workshop with 10 people, or you can have a major event with 10,000 people. So whatever you need, we've got it. We've got you covered. So I've prepared a video on how to set up an event. And this is also a good example of embedding a video into sessions, which is something that you can do with your own webinars. So yeah, let's go. If you can press on the bottom left-hand side of the video to unmute.
As you know, hosting webinars is a fantastic way to reach the right audience, generate leads, and increase conversions. And yes, the idea of hosting a major online event can feel a bit intimidating, but in reality, it's actually quite straightforward. especially if you have an all-in-one platform like Sessions. I'm going to show you how we set up our webinars, but before we get stuck in the details, I would like to show you what a Sessions webinar actually looks like. It has a landing page with info about the event and speakers, and a customizable registration form that you can link to your CRM system. During the live event, you can lock it to ensure that only registered participants enter. You can choose whether you want your participants to be visible in the audience bar or you can hide them from view. You have the option of adding an interactive agenda that loads your tools and presentations at the right moment. You can keep the agenda visible if you want everyone to be able to follow along, or hide it if you want a spontaneous discussion. Each embedded tool comes with its own default view mode or screen layout. You are free to change this whenever you want. You can set it for everyone, or you can let your participants choose for themselves. You can interact with your participants via chat, polls, and questions. Speaking of which, participants can write down their questions at any point, others can upvote them, and during the Q&A section of your webinar, you can choose the questions you would like to answer and feature them on the main screen. Afterwards, you can make the recording and resources public to all participants so that you don't have to send out links manually. And you can keep track of exactly who registered and who attended, and download a CSV file with their contact details. Okay, now that we know what a typical webinar in Sessions looks like, let's talk about how to set it up. The first step is to go to Events on the Sessions homepage and create a new event. Give your event a name, set a time and date, and if you need colleagues from your workspace to help you, search for them here and add them as collaborators. When you're done, click on Create Event. On screen, you'll now see the general details of your event, and you can edit these at any stage. And to the left, you'll see a menu from which you can add speakers, an agenda, a landing page, a registration form, and more. Let's look at them one by one. To add speakers to your event, click on Speakers, New Speaker, and fill in their details like their LinkedIn URL, photograph, bio, etc. When you're done, click on Save Speaker. Now during the event, speakers will be able to change slides and select questions for the Q&A. If you'd like to add an agenda, then click on Agendas,
Sorry, I forgot to unmute. Right, so I hope you enjoyed that. And then this brings me to the last section. Something I really appreciate about sessions is the way that it handles Q&A. Instead of everyone just posting their questions in the chat, causing chaos, there's a dedicated section for questions where people can post it throughout the duration of the webinar, and then the host can answer it when they're ready to and choose which questions to answer and feature on screen. And something else that's really cool is if someone does end up asking the question in chat, the system is smart enough to pick up on this and ask the person, do you really want this question in chat or do you want it in Q&A? Yeah, but instead of me talking about it, let's try it. So if anyone has questions, please write it in the question section now. You'll see a little button on the bottom right, little question mark. Let's see what we've got. What are some common technical challenges in webinars and how can we overcome them? Well, I would say, and you can feel free to intervene if you want, but I think just technical issues, unmuting or internet connections that are unstable. And a lot of that you can control in sessions. For example, you can force mute people or decide whether you want to see them or not, whether you want to give them the ability to have their cameras on. But there are some things we can't control, like people's internet or connectivity. Yeah. Anything you want to add? Joachim, are you with me?
I'm here. I was jumping on the next one. There's a question on what metrics should we track to evaluate the success of our webinars. That very much depends on what's the objective of the webinar, right? Do you do this to have people sign up for something afterwards, and on and on. So you certainly want to track kind of how does it compare against the objective. The other thing is kind of standard metrics. How many people do you attract to the webinar? That depends on whether you actually advertise it. I mean, I don't know how the individual participants came in. Did you see it on our website? Did you see it on the sessions website? Did you see it on the LinkedIn platform where we had this set up as a LinkedIn event? So in terms of number of participants invited, number of participants showing up, number of participants that watched the thing all the way through, and then the follow-up, I mean, it very much depends on, again, the objective. Do you just want to convey a message, or do you have the session, the webinar, have a specific spot in the in your lead generation, in your nurturing workflow? But happy to help there. If anybody has some specific questions, we can go into. You can contact us afterwards, and we can follow up on those.
And I would like to add to that, don't forget about the number of views later on YouTube, because a lot of people, it's hard to join live sometimes, but...
Which is an important point, Carla. The webinar is more than just the webinar. It's the recording afterwards, what you do with it. You can do much more than just hosting the webinar and hoping for the best during the webinar. Exactly.
Okay, let's see. What are some cost-effective tools and technologies for hosting webinars? Well, I would say, of course, there are loads of tools out there. And I'm rooting for sessions, of course. But the reason I'm saying this is because we replace so many other tools. Are we the cheapest meeting tool out there? Probably not. But we replace so many other tools that it really becomes worth it. Is there anything you want to add, Joachim?
No, I mean, I think you covered it. As there are so many tools, the question is, as a company, what are the key focus areas? What do you want to prioritize? I mean, you can obviously get, again, the Zooms, the Microsoft Teams, the Google Meets as part of your various platforms for free, but do they do webinars? Do they do what you've seen here, what you will see in other sessions? Do they do that collaboration? Maybe not. And because of that, do you potentially have to have another platform, and on and on and on, right? That's what quickly adds up to the cost. What you also should consider, how do you embed the solution in your CRM ecosphere, that you can then, again, follow up with participants and invite them to the next webinar. You found this interesting, go check another one, right? Those things are of value. And so if you kind of plot this out a little bit more than just, oh, let's host a webinar, but give the webinar a purpose in your marketing efforts, that'll help you very quickly see the various components you need, and then a platform like Sessions, which we love, obviously, otherwise we wouldn't show it, which will very quickly help those platforms come to the forefront, simply because they do offer a host of benefits if you're needing that portfolio of tools, and if you need it organized in a nice way. Okay.
All right.
What else we got? Let's do 2 more questions.
All right. How long should a typical webinar last? Depends. I think.
Yeah, it depends on. Let me chime in there. It depends on what you want to do and what you want to do during the webinar. If you have an in-depth training, education, it might be justified to do this an hour or 2 hours. But the problem is, if you're doing it for introduction purposes, awareness purposes, not many people stay on for a webinar, and then what you end up having is everybody signs up, nobody shows up, everybody watches the recording on whenever free time afterwards. That's only half the effect. So we made some good experience with a 15-20 minute webinar. Everybody has 15 minutes, 20 minutes, people show up, and then you can also very nicely package it, record it, put it on YouTube. You will see this with this one here, and follow up, so you get the double, triple effect by leveraging the content multiple times.
Exactly. And I want to add, if you want people to join live, you need to keep your target market in mind. For example, if I have 3 young kids, there's no way I would watch a 1-hour webinar at 6 p.m. in the evening. It's impossible. So there's so much to keep in mind with that type of thing.
Right. So why don't we wrap it up here, Carla? Let me go back to the slide here, the thank you slide. So thanks everyone for joining today. You will see the recording on YouTube. Again, like it, subscribe to the channel, both on the session side, both on the aspiration marketing side, and share it. You will see the follow-up materials as we have contact information that we'll send to you. So go out and use it, and let us know what you think. Thanks again for participating. Happy Wednesday.
Thank you.